Beneath the waves, the secrets sleep. In hidden halls, the echoes speak. A lost domain.
All right, let's dive in. We're tackling Atlantis today. And not just, the myths and legends. We're talking about how those ideas are still relevant in our world today.
Atlantis always gets people thinking, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It's really interesting how those ancient ideas, how we can use them to understand our potential and even the challenges we face today.
Yeah, like what can we learn from them? You sent in Frank Elper's book, La Magia de La Atlantida.
Oh yeah, that one.
Wild stuff, right? So we're going to take a deep dive into that, and hopefully we'll all come out of this with like some ancient wisdom to apply to our modern lives.
Sounds good to me.
So Alper, he jumps right in, doesn't he? He says those Atlanteans, they were like masters of nature, harnessing energy in ways we can barely imagine. He even says they were using crystals not just for decoration, but like powering their cities, healing, even telepathic communication. Sounds pretty far out there, right?
It does sound a bit like science fiction, but think about it. We use electromagnetic waves for communication now. Alper suggests that the Atlanteans tapped into something similar, with crystals, working with energies that we are just starting to understand.
So wait, are we supposed to start wearing crystals and hope for superpowers?
Haha, not exactly. Alper emphasizes that personal transformation is the key. We all have abilities within us, they're just kind of dormant.
Okay, so like untapped potential.
Precisely. And those abilities can be awakened through things like meditation, working with energy, connecting with nature.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He even suggests that the fall of Atlantis, it wasn't just a physical event, it was a spiritual one. They lost touch with their inner wisdom, got lost in that material power.
So the cautionary tale.
That's how Alper sees it, a mirror reflecting our own society.
Whoa, wait. Are you saying we're on the same path?
Well, that's the big question Alper wants us to ask ourselves. He sees a lot of parallels. Our obsession with technology, consumerism, always chasing that external power.
Yeah.
Echoes of Atlantean society, maybe?
Okay, that's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
But Alper offers some hope too, right? Like we can learn from their mistakes, make different choices.
Absolutely. He emphasizes balance, blending our technological advancements with spiritual growth, cultivating compassion, wisdom, alongside material wealth. It's about imagining a new Atlantis, built on these values, consciously shaping our evolution.
Okay, that's powerful. But how do we do that? It's one thing to talk about spiritual growth, but how do we put it into action?
Well, Alper gets really practical about that. He suggests exploring those ancient wisdom traditions, things like yoga, meditation, shamanism, even studying sacred geometry and astrology, seeing them as gateways to that ancient knowledge, and of course, reconnecting with nature, recognizing its vital role in our well-being and spiritual development.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
There's definitely something about being in nature that just brings a sense of peace.
Exactly. By nurturing that connection, we tap into the Earth's wisdom and its healing power.
Okay, so it's not about finding one right path. It's more about exploring what resonates with us, using it for our own personal growth.
Precisely. We're reclaiming the wisdom of our ancestors and adapting it to our own lives. Each journey is unique, but the goal is the same, to awaken humanity's true potential.
That's a big task.
It is.
But even small changes can make a difference, right?
Absolutely. Every positive thought, every act of kindness, every effort to align with our higher selves, it all contributes to that shift.
So it's about more than just rediscovering Atlantis, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about rediscovering ourselves and our connection to something bigger.
Yes. And maybe that's the real magic of Atlantis, that potential for transformation within each of us. We talked a little about crystals earlier, remember?
Yeah.
Well, Alper really goes deep into how those crystals were used in Atlantean society. It's a key part of his argument.
So more than just pretty rocks.
Much more. He claims that the Atlanteans used crystals not just as tools, but as partners in their spiritual evolution. They held ancient wisdom. They acted as conduits for divine energies.
So they weren't just batteries or antennas. They were wise teachers.
That's a great way to put it. Alper describes rituals where Atlanteans would meditate with these crystals, seeking guidance and healing.
Wow. So they saw them almost as living beings, not just objects.
Right. He even suggests that some Atlanteans were able to achieve such a deep connection with certain crystals that they could merge their consciousness with them, access vast knowledge and power.
Hold on, merging consciousness. That sounds like, out-of-body experience or something. How much of this is like based on actual evidence?
That's a fair question, and one that Alper addresses in the book. He admits that much of what we know about Atlantis is based on myth and speculation. Plato's writings, esoteric texts, channel information, none of that's scientifically validated.
So it's more about inspiration than literal history.
Exactly. He encourages readers to approach the information with an open mind, See what resonates with them personally. It's a starting point, connecting the dots between ancient wisdom and our own intuition.
Okay, so it's less about proving Atlantis existed and more about using it as a metaphor for our potential.
Exactly.
Got it. But what about that golden age of Atlantis that he talks about? What was that all about?
Yes. This is where Alper paints a picture of a utopian society. He talks about a time when Atlanteans lived in harmony with nature. They had advanced technology, but they used it ethically and responsibly. They had a deep understanding of spiritual principles and used that knowledge to create a society based on abundance, equality, enlightenment.
So it's like a perfect blend of like sustainable living and spiritual development.
That's the idea.
So if it was so amazing, how did it all go wrong?
Well, this is where Alper introduces the idea of a gradual decline, mirroring the fall of many civilizations throughout history. He suggests that over time, certain groups within Atlantis began to, prioritize personal power and material gain over the common good.
That sounds pretty familiar. It's greed and corruption leading to downfall. Classic.
It's a recurring theme. And Alper describes how this shift in values created divisions in their society. It eroded their unity and eventually led to conflict and misuse of their technology.
Their own advancements became their undoing. A bit of a cautionary tale for our own technological age, huh?
Definitely.
So what ultimately caused the destruction of Atlantis? Was it war? A natural disaster? Or something else?
It's a bit of a multifaceted explanation. Alper combines a number of factors. He describes a series of catastrophic events, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, all of which weakened Atlantis, both physically and spiritually.
So like natural disasters and their own internal struggles led to their downfall.
Right. He even suggests that the natural disasters were partly a result of their misuse of energy and technology, throwing the Earth's energy field out of whack.
Wow.
And then he mentions a final devastating flood that submerged the entire island.
Talk about a dramatic ending. But you said some Atlanteans survived, right? What happened to them?
Alper believes that a small group, foreseeing the catastrophe, managed to escape. They spread their knowledge to other parts of the world. He suggests that they played a role in the development of ancient civilizations like Egypt, India, the Mayan culture.
So even in their downfall, they left a legacy that shaped human history.
That's right. Alper sees the remnants of their wisdom in the pyramids, ancient temples, esoteric teachings found throughout the world. He even believes their knowledge was preserved in secret societies and mystery schools, passed down through generations, keeping the flame of their wisdom alive.
So these survivors became guardians of that ancient knowledge, preserving it for future generations. Fascinating. This is some really interesting stuff. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, and we haven't even gotten to the specific practices Alper recommends for accessing that Atlantean magic. Things like working with crystals, developing our intuition, activating our energy centers.
We definitely need to explore that further. This deep dive is already blowing my mind.
Yeah, mine too. It's amazing how much wisdom and potential Alper finds hidden within this ancient myth. It really makes you think.
Yeah.
It makes you think about our journey as a species,
Here we are again in the dark side of the Necronomicon. As I said before, it's not obligatory for every Chaos Magic practitioner, but for those who use Necronomicon, it's very important. Not because it's good or not because it's bad, but because it's both of them. The duality have little space right here. So when you deal with Chaos Magic, it's very important you know about Necronomicon. So for those who follow Necronomicon, it's important to know the history around this book. This book may be a fiction. This book may be true. Maybe John Dee made this book long before H.P. Lovecraft. But it's not important as what you will reach with that content. So we follow this path. Here in
House Magic time.
But hey, enough deep thoughts for now. I'm ready to get practical.
Right. Let's dig into those techniques. Albert gives us some real tools.
He does. And remember how we were talking about crystals earlier? And how the Atlanteans used them for, well, pretty much everything.
Energy,
Yeah.
healing, even like communication.
What?
Crazy, right?
It does sound wild, I know. But Alper believes we can tap into those same energies today.
Wait, so they're not just like pretty rocks on a shelf?
Nope. He sees them as active partners in our growth.
Wow.
He describes specific crystals that are associated with certain qualities, like amethyst for intuition, for example, rose quartz for love, clear quartz for amplifying energy. And he suggests meditating with them, holding them, visualizing their energy flowing through us.
Okay, I gotta be honest. That sounds a little out there for me.
I hear you. But even if we put aside the more metaphysical aspects, think about the power of intention. Focused attention. When we meditate with a crystal, we're choosing a focal point, a symbol that embodies a quality we want to cultivate within ourselves.
So it's like a physical reminder,
Yeah.
helping us stay focused, like a visual cue or something.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows, maybe there's more to those crystal vibrations than we understand. I mean, science is always discovering new things about the universe, right?
You've got a point there.
Yeah.
But crystals aren't the only thing Albert talks about, right?
Right. He also emphasizes developing our intuition. He sees it as a key to accessing ancient wisdom,
So like tapping into that gut feeling.
Exactly. Learning to trust our inner voice.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Makes it feel more accessible. Like anyone can work on it.
Absolutely. And he suggests practices like journaling, dream work, paying attention to those synchronicities we encounter, all ways to strengthen our intuition.
So basically becoming more aware of those insights that we often just brush aside, especially in our busy lives.
Exactly. Alper believes our intuition is like a muscle, gets stronger with practice.
Okay, makes sense.
Create space for stillness and reflection. Really listen to what your inner voice is telling you.
I could do that.
But it's not just about individual practices either. He also talks about the importance of community, connection.
Oh, interesting.
We're stronger together, right?
Makes sense.
He believes we can amplify our energy and our intentions when we work together.
So like a collective effort to raise our vibration and create change in the world.
That's the idea. He encourages us to form or join groups that are dedicated to this, spiritual exploration, energy work, creating that new Atlantis together.
Wow. Harnessing the power of collective intention for good. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It is, and it goes back to that whole concept of unity and cooperation that we talked about earlier, those core Atlantean values.
Like we're taking those lessons and applying them to our lives now, coming full circle.
Exactly. Alper believes that by reclaiming those values of harmony, wisdom, connection, we can create a world that reflects the best of what Atlantis represented.
That's a powerful message, one that I think resonates with a lot of people today. We're all searching for meaning, connection, a sense of purpose. And Alper's book offers a framework for that, not just individually, but as a collective too.
Absolutely. And even though some of his ideas might seem a bit out there, there's a core message of hope there and empowerment.
Okay, so we've covered the history, the mythology, the practical techniques. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing. The Atlantean child. What is that all about?
Oh, good one. Things are about to get even more interesting. Alper believes certain people are born with this special connection to Atlantis. Souls who live there in a past life and who carry that wisdom and energy with them now.
So, like old souls.
Yeah.
With a mission to bring back these teachings. Sounds like a superhero origin story.
Kind of. He says these Atlantean children often feel different, like they don't quite fit in. They might have a strong intuition, a fascination with crystals and ancient cultures, and a deep desire to make a difference in the world.
Okay, interesting. So how do you know if you're one of these Atlantean children? Are there, like, signs?
Alper offers some characteristics, but he emphasizes that it's really an inner knowing, a feeling of resonance with Atlantis's energy.
So not just checking off boxes on a list. It's about whether these ideas feel true to you.
Exactly. And he's clear that even if you don't identify as an Atlantean child, everyone can benefit from exploring these ideas and practices. He believes the energy of Atlantis is available to anyone who seeks it.
I like that we all have the potential.
We do. Alper's book is ultimately a message of hope and possibility. He sees humanity on the verge of this new golden age. And by embracing the wisdom of Atlantis, we can create a world that reflects our highest potential.
That's an inspiring vision. But it also raises some big questions.
Yeah.
If we're on the verge of this new era, what will it look like? How do we avoid repeating the mistakes of the past? I mean, if Atlantis was so advanced and still fell, how can we be sure we won't do the same thing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We need to move beyond just understanding the concepts. We have to apply them to our lives, both individually and collectively. We need to ask ourselves, what do we want to embody from that Atlantean society? What lessons did they teach us, both good and bad?
So it's not about romanticizing the past. It's about using it as a springboard for a better future.
That's it. Alper challenges us to envision a new Atlantis, one that integrates the best of that ancient wisdom with modern advancements. A world where technology serves humanity, not the other way around, where spirituality is valued alongside material wealth, and where we live in harmony with nature and with each other.
It's a tall order.
We are and live here to enjoy life. Avoiding this means avoiding being ourselves. One of the ways people like to live is by learning more. And that's why I make these podcasts about books and about chaos magic. Here in Brazil, we are all educated to be cheap. That hard education to be socially accepted. So I thought that the popular objection to chaos magic would be very intense. I was wrong. Here people are eager to learn and practice things that work for us Brazilians. It's no different outside of Brazil, but since English is not our native language, communication is a bit rigid. Anyway, I now make podcasts in English because just as many other people also liked them. I believe it is important to use these podcasts as a basis for at least Chaos Magic group to start discussions about them. However, I must point out that groups that are not practitioners of Chaos Magic will be very surprised when they practice these works that I recommended. And also I will recommend. Let's keep our hunger for learning strong here in Brazil or anywhere on the world. Hugs.
But worth aiming for. And I think Alper's book gives us a pretty good roadmap for navigating that journey. The inspiration and the tools to help us unlock our potential and co-create a future that reflects our highest aspirations.
It's a journey for sure. And, you know, this whole deep dive into Frank Alper's La Magia de La Atlantida, it's been fascinating.
We went from Atlantis, the myth, to practical applications, things we can actually use today.
Exactly. And we've looked at Atlantis as a potential historical reality, a cautionary tale, but ultimately a wellspring of wisdom.
Yeah. It's like we're not starting from scratch.
Right.
We've got this whole inheritance of knowledge and experience, even if it's been like hidden or lost.
That's what makes Alper's perspective so interesting. He's not just saying, oh, Atlantis is a lost civilization. It's a living energy and potential that we can still tap into.
Like a blueprint for a better future, just waiting to be rediscovered, put into action. But let's be real, not everyone's going to buy into all of this. Some people are going to think it's all a bunch of hooey.
Of course. And Alper even acknowledges that. He encourages readers to be discerning, take what resonates and leave the rest.
So it's about finding your own truth, your connection to those energies. But for those who are intrigued, what's the next step? How do you actually start integrating this Atlantean magic into your life?
Well, Alper really emphasizes personal transformation. It's about aligning ourselves with those core Atlantean values: wisdom, compassion, harmony.
So inner work first, like be the change.
Exactly. He believes that as individuals awaken to their potential, it contributes to a larger shift in consciousness.
Yeah, like each person becoming a source of light.
That's a great way to put it.
And it brings us back to that idea of the new Atlantis that Alper talks about.
Yeah.
What does he see for this new era?
He talks about a world where technology is used ethically, sustainably, where cooperation is valued over competition, and where we recognize our connection to all beings and to nature.
A world where we've learned from our mistakes.
Yes, a world that reflects the best of humanity.
It's a beautiful vision, but it's not a destination, right? It's a journey.
Absolutely. No magic button to press, unfortunately.
Right. But even small steps, done consistently, they make a difference.
You got it. And Alper reminds us we're not alone in this. We've got the wisdom of those who came before us, And we've got each other.
It's about tapping into that collective energy, like those Atlanteans, that sense of unity and purpose.
That's it. And in doing that, maybe we're honoring their legacy and fulfilling our own potential along the way.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the magic and mystery of Atlantis. Hopefully it sparked your curiosity. Maybe you'll even explore your own connection to those ancient energies.
Yeah, remember, the question isn't whether Atlantis literally existed, it's how its story can inspire us. Think about it. What aspects of Atlantean society do you see around us today? What can we learn from their successes, their failures? And, most importantly, how can each of us embody those positive aspects of Atlantis and maybe, just maybe, help build a brighter future?
Of gods and kings, where ancient magic still takes wing. The crystal flames, the shining lore, unlock the gates, reveal much more. Through sacred